Why the hell isn't Kirito already using dual blades in SAO Alicization? So what's up guys, Foxen here. Let's tackle a popular question that a lot of you have been asking since the start of SAO Alicization, which is simply, why is Kirito not using dual blades? And I think it's a very fair question, since at this point Kirito is known for his trademark dual wielding. By the way, do be sure to like and subscribe for more juicy SAO videos. It'll also help other SAO fans find these SAO videos. Anyway, let's go in depth and explain why Kirito is not the dual blade black swordsman anymore. First off, let me just ask you, is there any reason you're expecting Kirito to use two blades at this point? Kirito's first and final time using dual blades was all the way back in SAO during the Aincrad arc. And I know what you're thinking, how about the other times Kirito held two weapons? So for this, I could see the confusion. Let's just go ahead and break this down arc by arc. Then we could get into the deep story behind the dual blade-less Kirito for SAO Alicization. Going back to the original SAO and SAO Season 1, recall that the dual blade unique skill was given to Kirito, one of only a handful of unique skills. This right here was really the birth of that dual wielding black swordsman. And by the way, Kirito was able to recently dual wield in the SAO movie using the data from SAO. Next up, the Alpha Online arc. For this VR world, they didn't even have SAO skills at the beginning in Season 1. SAO source skills were later imported and implemented, although they intentionally left out unique skills like the original SAO had. This of course included Kirito's dual blade skill. But how about Kirito's clever little trick here? You actually did see Kirito dual wield briefly after he snatched Lifa's weapon. Keep in mind this wasn't Kirito using any sort of system assist or sword skill. It was purely based on strength and his experience from SAO. Next up, let's move into Season 2 starting with the Eugeo arc. Obviously, there is no dual blades in this game. Kirito even went full Jedi here. I mean, players were barely able to even use a single blade as an option. Next up, back to Alpha Online with the Caliber and Mother's Rosario arc. For this, Kirito did get two nameless swords in the anime, and eventually Kirito got updated with the Excalibur in Mother's Rosario. However, keep in mind that even though Kirito was using two swords, he was technically not using the dual blade skill. What Kirito was using in the fight was something he called Skill Connect, not a dual blade skill. What this simply meant for Kirito is that he couldn't use any dual blade skills, but instead keep on chaining single sword skills one after another. In the anime, he mentioned his max was 4. So again, technically Kirito was using two swords, but he was not actually using dual blade skills. Now moving into the Underworld. From this, you might be wondering, why doesn't Kirito just try to use Skill Connect in the Underworld? Now, this question is getting into the heart of the true answer. But setting aside this alternative dual blade style, what you're really wondering is why doesn't Kirito use dual blades in the Underworld, the actual dual blade skills? For this, there's multiple parts. To start off, I'll turn to Alice. This Golden Knight mentioned the option of using two blades in the SAO light novel. According to her experience, she only ever saw slimy nobles attempt to use two swords in combat. Alice claimed that actually using them effectively in battle was impossible. She also added that two blades would prevent you from using sword skills that had been passed down in the Underworld, since it wasn't a thing in the Underworld. And even if you ignore all of these facts, just using two blades wouldn't really give you any sort of advantage. In short, it's extremely impractical in the Underworld. Anyway, now switching to Kirito in the Season 3 anime. You actually have witnessed part of Kirito's own issue with possibly using two blades. Back at the Swords Academy, you saw Kirito having trouble using multi-hit skills. Kirito was only finally able to use his beloved 4-hit skill after getting his new Night Sky sword. Just moments later, you then saw Kirito wipe out when trying to use a 5-hit move, which was something he also couldn't even do with the Blue Rose sword. So at least right now, there is this limitation in place for Kirito using these combo moves. If he ever actually got a second blade and tried to use SAO dual wielding skills, besides the basic ones, keep in mind that they're all high combo moves. Since I'm talking about limitations in the Underworld and for Kirito, I'll go ahead and address another one of your popular questions. Why doesn't Kirito at least try to dual wield using the Blue Rose sword? I think this is totally fair. Let me just mention this. Kirito has actually tried getting into the dual blade stance using the Blue Rose sword and his Night Sky sword. Kirito was almost not even able to move while holding both of the blades, almost being crushed down simply by holding both of the divine swords. Hey Kirito, just ask Alice, she might be more capable. This now leads into the root issue. You may be wondering, so Kirito can't dual wield using those divine weapons. Why doesn't he just get swords more suitable so he could go back to that dual blade black swordsman? The answer? It really comes down to Kirito's mindset on the whole situation. The last time Kirito took on this black swordsman persona was back in the original SAO. In present day, Kirito really just wants to put that black swordsman identity behind him. It's to the point that he's almost fearful and disgusted just thinking about having to go back to that. At one point, Kirito even thought that if he had to go back to that black, dual-wielding swordsman, he would rather just pass on it. Keep in mind that at this point, Kirito has been recognized as his black swordsman by everyone. In other words, this hero of SAO. This is partially what has been fueling Kirito into going back to the various VR worlds, which was just to meet these expectations that everyone held him so high for. At the same time, Kirito that felt by doing so, he was getting further and further away from his true self. Since SAO ended, Kirito always saw this black swordsman as a persona almost separate from himself. Didn't really feel like this grand hero for clearing SAO, but rather Kirito felt the guilt of all the people he failed to save back then in SAO. So going back to the original question, why doesn't Kirito dual blade in the Underworld? Using dual blades is actually pretty impractical in the Underworld. Even if you ignore the restrictions in the Underworld, Kirito himself has no desire to go back to that dual blade persona from SAO. And I know at this point you might be thinking, oh, there's not gonna be any dual blade usage by Kirito in the Underworld. But actually, there will be some dual blade action by Kirito in SAO Alicization. A few times in fact. Although, I'm just thinking, will that make fans happy? For all the fans have been so vocal about Kirito not using two swords, if you're really only waiting for that, you're gonna get your moment, then gonna be complaining right the next episode. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, more important, let me hear from you. Question of the day. How do you feel about the dual bladeless Kirito? Are you missing Kirito not using two swords in the Underworld? Do you want to see dual wielding at some point? Or are you fine with single blade fights? Does anyone just want Kirito to use another weapon at this point, like a bow or a tiny dagger? Maybe just get a freaking machete. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, I am covering SAO Alicization weekly, and do expect more juicy SAO videos like this one to come. Go ahead and check out the latest news on Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2, what's going on with Lelouch in the newest Code Geass movie, and the upcoming Konosuba movie that's right around the corner. And I'll see you guys later.